ladies and gentlemen, we are back with a post-draft show. As you'll have seen on social media, there's a lot of opinion-based things going on with what's happened in the last few days. So this show might be a little bit up and down. I don't know how all the boys are sitting. Liam's already got a whiskey if he wants to flash that. So I think it's going to be one of those shows.
We call that triple measure.
Drinking it straight as well, might I add, which you've got to take your hat off to. So, gents, before we get cracking pick by pick, let's do a little overview from you both about how you're feeling. Mark, go on, give us your 2 or 3 sentence summary of what you feel.
At first, I was a bit befuddled. Is probably the best polite way to put it. I think the more that I've kind of looked at it, more I kind of thought about it and really put some thought into it. I'm actually okay. I've got some things that I need to get off my chest. Therapy is full, right? But yeah, I think overall I'm nowhere near as triggered as some of the other people that we see on social media a lot. So I'm okay. That's why I'm drinking tea and not whiskey.
There we go. So based on that information, Liam, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, like at first I was befuddled as well, and then I thought about it and I completely remained that way. I still don't have a clue what the thought process behind some of it was. I will go into more detail, not necessarily the players as if in who we chose, more when we chose them and what we're actually planning to do. I have no idea.
Well, in that case, let's break it down pick by pick then. We'll go as low as we can whilst it's still worth it. So I guess we'll start at the top, which is the main controversy at the moment in time, isn't it? So Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, just given Kirk 100 million guaranteed, 180 million potential, 4-year contract for him, and we use the 8th pick of the draft on a quarterback for development. Mark, let's get you started, and then we'll go back down to Liam. How are you feeling?
Genuinely, I'm all good. I think it just came from left field a little bit because I think none of us were particularly hugely expecting it. I think there was a big enough ceiling around the draft analyst circle and all of the armchair GMs that he shouldn't be a first round pick. I think there was I would kind of argue, and I said this on last week's pod, so I'll say it again. I don't think JJ McCarthy had any real right to be a first round pick either. Obviously the difference being that we've just taken Kirk Cousins for a lot of money. Yeah. I think, and this will probably be one of the only times I say this, is and it wasn't only him, but it's kind of the one that stuck out to me the most was Stephen A. Smith today. This organization is so jarred from what has happened over the past 3 years of quarterback purgatory. They obviously had a feeling that Michael Penix was their guy. I think they would have seen how it played out if there wasn't a real possibility, whether they had intel or whatever, I don't know. But there was no way that Penix was getting past Denver and Las Vegas at 13, 14 respectively.
Yeah.
So there's a case that maybe there could have been a little bit of a trade back there, but really if they were going to go for their guys, they knew that none of the teams in between them would have picked.
Yeah.
So I I think it was probably, it felt to me like a case of that was their guy, and they just went, do you know what it is? Let's just go get him. And I want to be really, really clear here. I do not like the fact that we as Falcons fans have had a bullseye placed on our heads now because everyone thinks it was a bad pick.
Yeah.
And listen, I get the fact that he's 24 next month and will, according to the plan, be 26 before he's a starter.
Yeah.
But that guy who we just gave 100 mil guaranteed to, who, given the market at the time, was probably the best option. So yeah, you probably had to overpay.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Because it is what it is, right? At the same time, if we hadn't taken Kirk and then taken Penix at 8, and everyone would have guffawed at that because we were going to throw Penix into the deep end early doors. So what I'm trying to get at is that if they like Penix enough to go get him, whether we paid Kirk or not, people were still going to go absolutely Garrity about this pick.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think one of the other almost kind of real annoyances that I have with it at the moment is we had so many armchair GMs going, Dallas Turner's got to be the guy, but don't expect a lot in year one. Don't expect a lot in year one. Or Latu is kind of a plug and play guy, right? Great, yeah. But don't expect a great year. So all of these edges that we were supposed to be going for, that everyone was like really, really high on. All of these guys, we all had our expectations really, really tapered down. So my pushback is, okay, well, this organization really doesn't want to be in Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder territory again. And I think it's probably fair to say none of us want to be either. So it was, some could call it brave, some could call it stupid, whichever one you want to go with, right? But they just went out and made a call and went, look, if Kirk goes down in game 5, 10 this year, although it's not going to be ideal, at least we've got some investment in in a player there who's at least going to have had a camp with Kirk.
Yeah.
If Kirk goes down year 2 when he's, late 30s, I think he's already late 30s, then we've got somebody primed. Now, I don't think it's going to be, at this minute in time, I'm not hugely, I'm not really hyped by the pick, but I understand it. And I think that they've taken a gamble on a guy that they believe in. And I really don't want to see that as a bad thing, because I would rather they did that rather than just go for some edge rusher. Spending the pick, him getting 6 sacks because he's not a right now guy, because he needs this and he needs that. Well, then that's not a hugely impact player. Go get Bud Dupree on another 1 year vet minimum. Like, he'll get you 6 sacks a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
The narrative is so geared towards, we'll look at this really, really bad decision.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a bad decision. It's risky, sure, but guys, risks pay off sometimes. Like,
exactly.
This isn't taking a punter in the first round and going, hopefully he's the best guy to ever kick the ball. Like, Penix isn't a bad quarterback. Like, his college stats show he's a pretty good quarterback, and he's better than the guy that we picked up in the 3rd round, who we let start for the past year and a half.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I think that's where the problem lies. We've probably been, we have been spoiled over the last decade or so by having Matt as our quarterback. And then this transitional period of the last few years where we've bounced between Mariota and Ridder and the rest, having one quarterback. So everybody's problem with picking Penix is that we were meant to be win now. And by picking Penix, we've not picked a player who is going to start year 1, which is fine. I understand that concern. However, lose Kirk, like you've kind of just alluded to, lose Kirk Cousins 2 or 3 weeks into the season and don't have a high quality backup quarterback. and it is no longer win now. So by not picking that one position,
let me put this to you, right? So if this means we're not win now,
yeah,
but we picked up Dallas Turner, who everybody said wasn't going to be a 10-sack guy in his first year,
yeah,
then we weren't win now before.
No, exactly. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
You know, like you got to look at both sides of the coin here, and I'm just like, everyone's got their let's all laugh at the Falcons glasses on, and listen, like I say, I'm not, I'm not jumping around the place about the situation, but I'm just gonna. I could go on for a little while longer, but I'm not going to because I want to hear Liam. But I'm just going to say, like they've taken a risk, and I said this in my original tweet when I first kicked off. Raheem, I hope you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
there we go.
That's kind of where I'm just going to back that over the net to Liam.
Liam, I am not trying to make you hero or villain. I am not trying to antagonize anyone or rile up the audience. I know when the picks were happening and we're all chatting on our WhatsApp group, you were of a slightly different opinion to us at some points. How are you feeling now? Have you settled a bit? Are you still all in? Firstly, let me say you were not the deep end. I have seen people on social media losing their minds. Yeah. You've not done that. You were not that bad. You were just a little bit more less understanding.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still the same, really, and it's nothing to do with Penix as a player. I'm not against the actual player that we picked in terms of it's not like I'm saying, oh, he's not a good quarterback or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think he actually could be a very good quarterback. I just don't get why we did it in this year when we've given Kirk a contract that does not allow any escape until after 3 years. It doesn't make any sense. Even if he gets injured, that's obviously but you don't sign a player thinking, oh well, somebody might get injured. It doesn't make any sense to do it.
No, of course.
We paid him an absolute fortune, and even if he gets injured, there's no way out of that. There's not even an injury clause. So I don't see why. I get planning for the future and stuff.
Yeah.
But I see the future as the next year or the year after.
Okay.
This is realistically the year after that at the earliest because of the way that the contract is structured for Kirk. I just don't get what the thought process. Obviously, he's a little bit older, and obviously, we could say he's coming out at 26. 26 is not the kind of age that you want the quarterback. Obviously, you'd like him to come out younger, but it's not that old. Quarterbacks can play quite long, so it's not like he could easily put up 10 years. But I don't understand why we would do it at this point and essentially waste or use rookie years where they're cheap, where that's your opportunity to actually, put other players around your rookie quarterback that are more expensive. Usually not another quarterback on 180 million. That doesn't make any sense to me. And even with, if we were going to say that, we're talking about the win now thing, my version of win now is not actually win right now. It's win with Kirk in his years that he's available in terms of his first couple of years, maybe 3, but probably his first 2. Realistically, the season after this one would be if Kirk's embedded, back to full health, got the scheme, got the system, can play like we know he can play. A player like Dallas Turner or whatever, or Latu, or somebody like that, or a corner, even if he was a second-year guy when his production ups, that's exactly in the timeline that Kirk could also perform. Now, if Kirk wasn't here at all and we took Penix at 8, I'd have been fine with it. I still think it's a bit high, I think, for his value, but we needed the quarterback.
And all of the quarterbacks' values.
The quarterbacks would go in. We wouldn't have had one, so we were only at 8, so we could have gone for him. I wouldn't be that bothered about it. I think it might be. I don't know if he's in that class. He was, and the way that it was going, I think we would have had to pull the trigger at 8 if we didn't have Cousins. It would have made sense just get him because we need a quarterback. Would have been JJ McCarthy and Bordeaux left over. You wouldn't want to leave it. So I would have understood it, but I don't understand Kirk Cousins and the pick at 8. I just don't see where which we put ourselves in the middle of. I don't know what we're doing. We're planning and we're trying to win. Like what we do, we can't do both. Like either I feel like we should have not got Cousins and got Penix, or we should have got Cousins and not got Penix and put him. Even pick a receiver like for Kirk to throw to. Like do something like that supports what we think the plan is with Kirk. Don't pick something that's does not complement the plan.
Yeah, no, exactly. And to be fair, it's completely rational. There's nothing wrong with it. I am, however, going to quickly bounce to Max. It looks like he's having an aneurysm during some of that. We won't go backwards and forwards too much because it's just the nature of the game, isn't it? But
I mean, Liam, you watch college football? Like, who are you going to get next year? That's going to be.
I don't buy that argument at all. To be honest, I can't buy that because we look at drafts ahead of time too much. If you'd looked at year 2020 for the best example you could possibly pick, if you looked at the year before the draft, you know what I mean, the year down the line, Joe Burrow wasn't in the top 5 or even in the top 10 quarterbacks after that year. Nobody rated him. Puts up an absolute stellar year, number 1 pick. People can change in the 1 year. Obviously, I'm not saying that class is looking strong, but we're not even I feel like with Kirk's length of contract, we're not even talking about next year. Like we could talk about a year after, or we could just balls it, go and win. I don't even care if we get a good quarterback. If we want to win a Super Bowl, I couldn't give a crap if we didn't win one for 5 years. Like we do it. Like what? I'd rather win, and I'd rather go all in and on players that support or do the plan. Like don't put yourself in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. It's fair enough. Mark, I feel like this could go backwards and forwards for some time.
It absolutely could do. And I'm not going to let it do that. But I think Liam's points are valid, although I don't agree with some of them. But I think this could be a show on its own if you wanted to go down all of the reasons.
Yeah.
One thing that I will sort of carry this conversation on with is I think and almost kind of for the purpose of equality. You know, you hear a lot of people going, well, they're following the Green Bay Packers sort of model, right? Which is what the Packers have always done. In that time, Packers have only won 1 Super Bowl, right? So this isn't necessarily a tried and tested approach that they're taking, right? So I absolutely kind of appreciate the and don't get me wrong, you know, Packers did look better, well, did look good at times with Jordan Love this year. They still went 9-8, right? So I'm going to concede that you know, there is definitely a case to be made to say, you know, we could have you know, given him something. How many? But you know, I guess how many of the 32 first rounders hit? How many of you know 32 first rounders are impact players every year? You know, like I take what you're saying completely on board, but I just think, well, again, you know, I'll kind of repeat my sentiment and leave it on this. You either like somebody that much that you're willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
If that is the case, cool. But it's on Terry and Raheem's head.
Yeah. No, of course.
The thing I don't,
you know, it's up to them to make that decision work, and whether that decision works in 4 years' time. You know, we might be sitting here in 4 years having the same conversation.
Yeah.
But I guess it feels like they really, really valued not being in QB wasteland, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that personally, outside of Caleb Williams, Penix is the most NFL-ready quarterback out of them, like 4. I think, you know, Drake May's been chosen above him because of his how athletic he is and his actual raw ability, should we say. But he's very young. He's probably not as smart and as polished as Penix. So that to me says like Penix could have been a year one starter or year two starter. I think he's got that type of game already, which is like, I'd be interested to know when you think that Penix actually starts, because like realistically, you couldn't sit a guy for more than 2 years. I don't see the value in doing that. No. But we know that Kirk's like cap hitting whatever third year's like 60 million. Are we going to play? We're going to start a quarterback in the same year that our other quarterbacks not in that year.
We've got an out in the third year.
We've got an out
first
after
and second
the third
year.
year.
Front loaded. The cap hit of the third year. No, it's the second year. First 2 years are 60 million.
After the third year, it's 25 million dead cap we take. After the third year,
dead cap. Yeah. 25 million dead cap. But
his third year, million. Not his second. His third. His second year's 40.
Yeah, I know. So the first 2 years are front loaded. That's what I'm saying. After the second year, there's an out. So so the out of the contract is going into the third year. There is a dead cap hit, but there's not as much of.
It's 25 million. It's 25 million.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. I grant it, but we've dealt with worse.
Yeah, after the we could get it like 12.5 is the lowest we can. If we go out of the contract early, 12.5 is the lowest we can take dead cap. That's probably manageable. 25 is hefty to start Penix in the third year. If we get rid of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
That is obviously. Again. But you can't sit. Could you sit a number 8 pick from 1 2 years? Don't know. Seems interested if you do. Not say you can't. You could. Like you could, but.
Right, chaps, I'm ringing the bell. This could go backwards and forwards. We said a 1 hour show tonight. I'm going to quickly jump into the comments. There's loads about stuff that we're going to cover down the line, so I'm only going to dip into the ones that are relevant to Penix, which we've just covered now, of course. Some jokey ones, some not so much. Nope, we should not.
Kirk.
Yeah.
I would rather cut Kirk Cousins' contract now than do that.
Completely valid from Darren. We kind of alluded to that a little bit in terms of we don't know what we're going to lose next year. You have to forward plan a little bit, don't you? So it makes perfect sense. And it probably won't be a first. That would be brutal. It'll be like a third, if anything. But you never know. Let's keep going down a little bit. Big Ant. Oh, thank you for your interactions on Twitter recently, mate. I've seen you all over our comments. But yeah, I think that's where the problem does lie, isn't it? It's not in Penix as a player at all. It's not in
Penix as a player. Definitely not.
It's the height of the pick and the dough invested.
It's the timing.
But completely right. We've not had anyone since Schaub after Matt Ryan. The last 2 seasons for certain have been chaos.
If he's your guy, go get him.
Insurance policy in case Kirk's injury repeats, and if not, Penix can learn. Absolutely fine, completely logical, and that will be their logic entirely, I'd imagine. You've got your replacement guy already. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't have to, he's got experience under the belt.
Can't buy it. Can't buy your drafty guy in case you don't pay 180 million to a guy if you think he might get injured.
And Batman says we want more quarterbacks. So
draft them all.
Right, chaps. There is plenty more comments. However, a lot of them are about what we're going to move on to. So let's go on to pick number 2, which had its own controversy. Are you going to make me say his name?
Yep.
I can say it. I watched a video I watched an interview with him, and the first thing they asked was, how do you pronounce his name? It's just Ororo.
Ororo. Somebody.
That's too easy.
And the way that he said it was a row your boat.
That's a good way of remembering it. I kind of like wish it. I'm gonna intentionally just add more syllables that for fun.
Multiple rows.
It's got to be hurrah, 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 hurrah.
I can't remember the account off the top of my head, so I can't credit it, but I did retweet it the other day. After we picked him, one of our UK followers tweeted a little video of a dog not barking but speaking. Do you know where they just waffle and they're like, row, row, row. It literally sounded exactly like it. I'll try and dig it out before the show finishes. Anywho, moving on. So yeah, we we traded for him, whether that be right or wrong. We'll go back to Mark for this one. So how did you feel about the trade? Obviously, we lost a little bit of leverage
capital.
for him. Yeah, a little bit of capital. Probably moved up when other people again were debating it. But I assume you're going to say, if he's your man, he's your man. But
well,
take it.
Do you know what it is? I actually wasn't going to say that. But it probably would have ended like that. So just, strap yourselves in. I think they've obviously seen something in this kid. I think there was probably DTs on a lot of people's boards that were probably higher than he was. However, I don't think it's any surprise that as soon as we made that pick, there was quite a few DTs that came off the board in quick succession.
Yeah,
was it 6 DTs in total in the second round? Yeah, something like that. So again, they just went all in on, for me, the guy that they wanted rather than the guy that people would have maybe picked before him. I do think with the way that, I think we've definitely seen a switch in the way that we're drafting players. And I think that definitely has to do in part, and Raheem mentioned it in his press conferences over the weekend, about character guys. One thing that I did notice is that Rook and a couple of the next picks that we're going to talk about, like insanely fast for big guys on D-line positions. Ran a sub. I think it was 4.89. Rook ran. So they obviously value athleticism. They obviously value the fact that he can probably play in numerous sort of spaces across that line. I think, he's definitely going to be a work in progress. I don't think anybody expects him to be Grady straight off the bat.
No.
But I think he's cut from a similar cloth, I think is probably the best way to put it. But again, it just felt like to me, like they just went, we're not taking the risk on somebody else taking him. Obviously, like I say, it started a run of DTs. I think just after this, there was at least a run of about 3. So I am not, I wouldn't say overwhelmed. There was apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but Terry said that they did attempt to trade up quite a lot back into the first. Some of the whispers around that were around Latu and they were around Byron Murphy, who we obviously spoke about last week. So I think strengthening the front 7 was still a high priority in their mind. So, I mean, I'm happy with it just for the draft call alone, because as soon as Arthur Blank got the phone, all he was met with was a wall of noise, which I thought was amazing, because he was so hyped. But I mean, listen, and his numbers for Clemson have been okay to decent. I think that the kid obviously is going to need some work. I think he's going to provide hopefully a bit of cover for Grady and Dio across the season, because we're going to have to keep them fresh, because as we discussed last week, they're the wrong side of 30. Grady often coming off the back of that injury. So for me, DT was definitely the right pick. And Terry and him obviously believe he was their guy. So I'm not unhappy with it. So I'm kind of just I'm just gonna roll with that until
This one seems a little bit less controversial, not by too much, but a little bit less.
But I think probably one thing to note is, was it a reach? Well, we'll probably never know.
Yeah, no, of course.
Until he's either good or not good on the field.
Yeah.
So,
Liam, how did you feel about the pick? Another bizarre set of circumstances from the outside, but maybe, obviously, like we've said, when you want your man, then you go for him.
Yeah, like positional wise, I think it's a good pick. I think that was when a lot of the sort of the top DTs were expected to go late first, early second. So I think it's the right time to go and get one of those guys. I'm not necessarily against who we picked. I think obviously there were consensus better options, but obviously you don't really know who's better until they actually play. But there was consensus better options. I think the confusing thing was how aggressive we were to get to that spot to take him. I think that's what confused me the most, mainly because, as I say, there was consensus better players, at least two in that same position that were expected to go ahead of him. Now, not saying they would have done. Somebody else could have been really interested in Rook, maybe. I thought it was very aggressive to not take Newton. I think that was what people were like. Newton was expected to go sort of like at the end of the first, and as soon as we went into that position, I was happy because I thought people can't believe he's dropped here. It looks an absolute beast. We've aggressive and we've gone in for Newton because he was what everybody seemed to want and was going to be snapping your hands off in that position. Then we took Rook. I was like, that is interesting. And then obviously Newton went the next pick because I bet they couldn't believe the look when he fell. Rook could be a better player than Newton, in the long run. That could happen. It's more a case of if you believe the boards and what people were expected to take, he potentially could have been available even at the pick that we were at.
Yeah.
Or at least slightly further down with a trade. Probably. Obviously, they've gone. They just thought they don't want to take a risk and gone for it. I thought we give away quite a lot. Obviously, I could understand why we give away to move up that many positions, but maybe we didn't have to move up that many positions and give away a third for a 6, was it? Swapped a third for 6. I think that third could have been very useful.
Yeah,
I agree.
Was it worth it to move that far up? In the long run, if it's absolute beast, obviously, we'll say yeah. But based on the boards and what people predicted and what people think,
do you want to tell him that?
No, I don't. I don't want to say anything to his face. And I loved his attitude and I like his tape. And I think he plays for a top school and he's still young. He's got a lot of good things for him as a player. I just think it seems strange to be that aggressive for somebody who the talk wasn't really about.
No.
But I think Newton maybe obviously you might see slightly ahead, but even him, Newton and the other guys, literally that went in that block of 5. I don't think there's that much between them in terms of ability. I think Murphy stood out a little bit ahead of them, and then the rest were just a pot of players that kind of could easily be as good as each other. So I think he's well in there. I don't think we had to give away what we gave away to get him. That was my only concern. No concerns about him as a player. He's got everything I would look at for a player, and his attitude, his call, and just his eagerness. So he'd have been playing that night if you'd have let him.
Yeah,
when he was on that call, he'd have been on the field. You could tell he's that type of guy. He'd have been at practice easily.
One of his interviews with the Falcons afterwards, where he said, "I'm the type of guy that wants to run in dark alleys," or something like that. What a weird thing to say.
I was really go on. Yeah.
Who was that DT that we all got really excited about?
Marlon Davidson. Don't make me do it.
Yeah.
Because he was my when we did all of our shows after we picked him, I was locked on him being the player to watch and stuff, and just. But I guess about 20 snaps.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to withhold that kind of excitement within me
because of comparison
I had that night about him.
Yeah.
But listening, listening to him seems like he's got his head screwed on. Probably a lot less psychopathic than Marlon Davidson sounded that night. But I kind of like that too. So again, another example of they've locked the sights on somebody and gone for it. And I think it, for me, it's just kind of like time's going to tell if that's going to pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. We discussed it in the chat again as well. Athleticism wise, he's longer than the rest of them. Exactly. He's statistically, not that it means anything. He was better than the rest of the tackles available. So he's
in terms of athleticism, isn't it?
Yeah, in terms of athleticism. So his statistics in production might not have been as high, but maybe they thought, there's more to work with this individual as opposed to he's closer to ready like some of the others.
You can absolutely see what they see in him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
definitely. You can see I think it's very clear how he's a raw talent with great strength, speed.
Yeah.
He's flexible. I think I reckon the main thing that's drawn him to him is his flexibility across that line.
Yeah,
and the way they could shift him around and use him in different looks. I think that's probably what has sold them on him.
In terms of his prospect card, and I don't look into this too much because this is the same prospect card that said Grady was going to be a below average starter / practice team guy.
Yeah.
But he was first in athleticism and he was 4th DT overall. So I think he went, was it 3rd or 2nd?
2nd.
Was there 2 DTs in the first round?
No.
Fire and Murphy.
Just Murphy. Then Newton went straight after Rook, and I think think there was another.
So he was 4th, but he ended up going 2nd.
2nd,
yeah.
Which it's not mad. Like some people I've seen him 3rd. I've seen him 7th, and I've seen Newton ahead of Murphy. So I've seen all sorts of stuff, but nobody really knows. But
no.
I don't think I think that pot of 5. I don't think there's that much between them. It's just that people did rate Newton higher. I would have. It seemed that any team that was going to be aggressive in the trade up would have gone for Newton. I think if we hadn't gone for Rook and gone for somebody else completely, I think the pick behind us still would have gone for Newton.
Yeah.
But it could have been a pick after that. Could have gone for Rook, and then we wouldn't have got him. So they've had to. Yeah. They've gone for it. But they had a bit of.
They went and got their guy.
They had a bit of leeway. Yeah, with the 2 third-round picks, they had a bit of. I'd have been more annoyed if they only had one third-round pick, and then that'd have seemed mad. But they've obviously gone seen it as like a spare pick and just used it to get somebody that they want.
Well, that one wasn't quite as controversial as I thought. I thought the usage of our picks was going to be an issue with that one, but no, I like it. And,
our armchair GMs who are always so positive about everything.
So positive. If anything, the most positive social media platform ever is. However, one that was legitimately positive was our 3rd round pick, weirdly enough. So we went for Braylon Trice, linebacker. I don't know what else to say. It was one that everybody was actually happy.
Technically, he's an outside linebacker. So really, what that means is in a 3-4 system, he'll him that we'll probably see mainly where Ebikete's going to play. So essentially, they'll be an edge rusher some of the time, and they'll drop back into coverage the rest of the time. Trice actually mentioned that in his press conference. That quite a lot of the time, he in Washington, he was dropping into coverage. He was a team captain on that defensive unit that had a brilliant season this year. I think outside of the main guys, again, the main 3 that we continue to talk about all the way through the summer, all the way through the off season for the draft, because it's not the summer yet. I think it was probably kind of the most glaring option. I'm actually surprised that he dropped that far, if I'm honest.
Well, I think that was the consensus on socials as well. There was not that we believe in all the mocks and stuff like that, but there was a lot that had him going late in the first round, early second round. So the fact that he did is just happens how the draft table fell on that given night. Pressure wise, obviously you'll have all seen the statistics. He topped the pressures leaderboard last season across edge rushers. I think he got 81, and his closest competitor was Latu with 62, and then Verse was below that on 60. So in terms of pressures, at least we've got a statistic up there, which makes him above the others.
Again, and like I know I mentioned it with Rook, but again, athleticism. So I think his 40-yard was 4.7 something. Again, that speed and that kind of, especially if you're going to play outside linebacker, you are going to rush the passer from a 3 front. You need guys who are quick. So I mean, I was really, really happy with the pick. Like I say, I mean, I think he was. I'm surprised he fell. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it only worked in our favour. Liam, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, Braylon Trice, real name, no gimmicks.
Nope.
I love that.
Oh, God.
Say that. No, I think he's.
You need to pour yourself into that whiskey for that one, Liam. That was very good.
That's the first thing I thought when I saw his name. I was like, oh my God. That's sad. But yeah, I think he's got, he's shown stats wise, he's shown good stuff. He was the captain of that defense in that last year, obviously, when they made it to the finals. Seems like a leader, which is, you can't have enough of them. I think he'll add something. I think we've got a couple of players that are still developing in that area, and I think that he could, even though he's a rookie, it sounds weird, but I think because of the way his character seems to be, I think he could actually help other people around him. Like Zach Harrison towards the end of last year was getting a lot better. He was getting a lot better. I think he could add a little bit something. If he can bring those pressures like he was in college on a consistent basis, that opens up avenues for other players around, because you're moving the quarterback out of the pocket, you're doing all sorts of different stuff, and that, players like Zach Harrison, who have got a little bit of speed around the outside, can get to quarterbacks in that way. And I think he's going to, where we picked, he's definitely going to add value. I think he's, he might not be the stellar sack guy that we kind of want on the edge, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't always need that. You just need consistent pressures from different angles to cause quarterbacks to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And he was quite adept last year at stopping the run. And that's something that we've really struggled with, I think, certainly over the past year. And when Grady went down last year, it kind of felt like everyone could run through us at times. So I think that's another strength of the ball that's really going to benefit us.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that was a surprisingly easy part of the discussion. I love that. I'm going to jump back to the comments. I'm sure I saw his name a few times, so let me have a quick scroll. Go and be a beast. I will. I mean, nothing wrong with that assumption. Absolutely. From what we've seen and the clips we've watched so far, absolutely. Ben, thank you for joining us again. I remember you joined a couple of months back, probably back end of the season, and said that it was one of your first shows that you watched, because me and Mark were like, why on earth would you choose to watch us out of everybody that's doing it? So thank you for coming back.
Appreciate
that. And that's pretty much it for Trice. So let's move down the board again. I don't know how low you want to go. We can go all the way, but obviously the lower we get, the less chat there is about each one.
Yeah.
So with the fourth round, we went for our friends over at ATL Falcons Germany. Were lucky enough to do the announcement for this on stage. I'm sure you've all seen it, no doubt. It's all over socials and everything like that. So yeah, how are we feeling about Brandon?
I adored this pick, if I'm honest. No.
Yeah.
I adored this pick. He was another one that I had early third, I think. In a few of my mock drafts, I think he was projected to go higher than he was. Again, really versatile player, and just he can play all across that line. He's a bit of he's a bit of a gap maestro. Like he can find spaces in those different gaps. I really love this pick, if I'm honest with you. Possibly my favorite pick of the draft, if I'm honest. I think he adds a lot of flexibility to that D line, and I think we've got the potential. I'm going to say the potential because I don't want to put my head above the trench too quick, but I think we've got the potential to really be able to mix it up with personnel this year on that front seven and create some problems. So for me, this was an absolute home run in the fourth round.
Well, there was a really nice comparison on Twitter. I don't know if I can find it like spur of the moment, where somebody said the last time the Falcons shook up their defensive line as drastically as this was 2016. So I mean, if we can do like 60% of what we did that year, then of course we're on the right trajectory, considering we've not seen a winning season for 6 years. So you
don't have to keep saying
that. That way. The more I say it, the more likely it is to flip. So
okay.
Liam, I know you're a college boy, so how did you feel about the pick?
Yeah, I mean, he's another one that he's got that flexibility element to him, and I think we've clearly got an idea of disguise or something on this defensive line and rotation, which I think is quite vital. These guys, some of them obviously have got incredible engines nowadays, like I said last week, but they do need that rotation and to have different options that you can bring in different places. Like so you could wide up on the edge on one snap and inside on another, and that just causes chaos to a defensive lineman.
It really does.
You should stop the way you're up against it in the next snap, and you've got different techniques and all sorts of stuff going on.
So you can get to a point where you think, oh, it's all right, I've got this dude's number, like I'm okay, like I'm going to be okay, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, there's now
some other guy
a man who's double my size in front of me. This is going to go well. So I
like that. Got another one with decent productions. We've got numbers now. We've got numbers and options and people with different skills. Again, he might not be somebody who's going to blow it out of the water, but I think if we can get solid production out of all of these guys at decent numbers and just different looks, I think we've got a unit rather than a standout. I think we don't have that standout on paper. We don't have that standout pass rusher, but I think what we now have with these guys and what we already had at the team is a unit of people who can stuff the run, who can generate pressure in different positions. I think we're building a cohesive unit, and that's the tactic I think we've gone for on that defensive line, which can be very effective.
Works for me. Moving down, we had a 5th round pick and 3 6th round picks. In the interest of time, because we don't like to go too much over an hour, we'll cluster these a little bit. Liam, I know one of your boys is in there, so you'll probably want to talk about
20-minute segment on him.
There we go. This is exactly so. I don't know if you both want to back and forth a little bit about the other 4 picks. If there's anyone in particular you really want to pick out, Liam, I know you do, so I'll let you have 45 minutes on him. So we had JD Bertrand, Jace McClellan, Casey Washington, and Zion Logue. So a lot of defensive players in that mix, running back to keep it spicy, and a wide receiver to give Kirk a little bit of an option. Hopefully he can get into that mix and have a good off season and get some snaps. Out of them, Mark, who are your eyes on?
I think for me, probably I'll take the Bertrand linebacker.
Yeah, linebacker.
So for me, I think this was feels to me like bit of a potential backup for now. I think realistically that kind of linebacker sort of core of Troy, of Caden and Nate Lamb, we definitely have the palest linebacker core in the league. But I think that there is I think there's a lot to be said to add. Another one, he had really good production last year for Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, however we're pronouncing that. So I don't hate the pick. I think he will probably see more action on special teams, I would imagine. Again, really, really athletic. He's a strong tackler. The production that Notre Dame have had out of him over the past couple of years has been pretty solid.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I certainly don't hate it. I think I've seen a stat that on the athleticism scale for linebackers, he was quite high. I think he was about 8th or something.
There seems to be a trend, doesn't there, in all of the picks that we've been going for. It's not necessarily statistical production; it's physical ability and physical capabilities that can be utilized and developed, as opposed to what numbers you're putting out in college.
Yeah, so I don't hate it. Like I say, I think he's a potential development piece. And I think that, like I say, they've probably picked up a guy who they think they can get something out of. So like I say, I would expect them to probably only see him on special teams unless we have any disastrous linebacker injuries like we did last year. But fingers crossed and touching wood, we should be all right. So yeah, don't dislike that pick at all.
No problem at all. Liam, out of the 3 remaining, who are you going to take a segment on?
He's going to choose his guy. Go get your guy, Liam.
I mean, I mean, it's not really a position I would would have talked about, but I'll take Jace. I think he's great value at that pick. He's not the Bama running back that had in last sort of 5-10 years. Like, he's not that stellar guy, but he's actually pretty good. He's still like 21 or 22. Like, he's young. He's had a couple of injury.
22, I think.
He's had a couple of injury issues. He's still got quite a lot to learn, but he can be productive. He's a bit inconsistent, but he can be actually very productive. He's got great running after contact, which I think is always a good asset to have as a running back in the NFL. Like, he takes hits well. He's not gonna like set it away in terms of like downfield speed or anything of that nature. He just hasn't got that ability, but he's somebody who can pick up yards in the right moment and use a bit like a sort of like a gadget player almost. Not bad in the receiving game either. Good size. Like, he's kind of he's all round pretty good without excelling at anything. And I think the 6th round is very solid for somebody like him, who I would say is in his final year at college was only when he really started progressing. Like, he struggled, say, with injuries and consistency before that. I think his last year he started to see the start of what he can do, and maybe he could be quite a good running back in the NFL. And I obviously he's not coming into the best situation in terms of his game time. I think it'd be limited. But you never know with injuries and things like that. We might start running with 3 different guys. I don't know, but I mean, I think he could step in.
Yeah, I know it's not a great representation because he didn't get too many snaps last year, but we are Patterson-less this year. So I suppose in theory, I know not comparing player-wise, and I know he didn't get too many, but there is snaps available. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Oh yeah, I mean, he'll be a special teams guy. I mean, he can hit, and he can take a hit. So I'd probably say that he will get certainly some snaps on special teams, and like Liam just said, spot on. Like, you never know when injuries are going to occur. And listen, running back's a hard position to stay healthy in for a long length of time. Not that I'm going to If he can be, running back 3, then I don't think it's a bad thing.
I mean, one stat that I'll mention that I know I'm absolutely going to jinx him on now is that in his whole college career, he only had 1 fumble, which I think is pretty good going for a running back.
That's not bad going, especially by
he's
someone.
He's got a fumble first ball now. He's got a fumble like first carry now, isn't it? But 1 fumble's pretty solid. That's something that's What's got a
I don't know what just happened then.
He's killing me.
I think it might be my internet. Sorry, boys.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
You hit us with a
I was just going to add that. Oh, sorry. I'm obviously getting Liam on delay. I'm so sorry, Liam.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay, I was just going to say he wasn't really playing for a very big school, was he? So.
Oh no! No. Little whiskey.
I can do, unless you two know any in-depth details about the other 2 chaps that we've taken in. I didn't know much, if I'm completely honest. I've watched a bit of tape since.
I've watched them.
Yeah, I've got the Falcons stats that they posted out about the players that are relevant too. So Washington, 122 receptions for 1,508 yards, averaging 12.4 yards per reception, 4 touchdowns in 55 games, but only 20 of which were starts. And then finished 9th in the Big Ten with 49 receptions, whilst also recording 470 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns in 2023. So not massively high production, not massively scary figures, but steady.
So I watched a little bit of draft analysis on him because I'm certainly not gonna lie, I didn't know anything about him before we drafted him.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but he's quite a rambunctious individual to cover, I think. So I think if we are depleted on that, I think he'll be a bit of a handful for any corner to try and get hands on.
Yeah.
I would imagine he'll just be a special team roster filler.
Yeah.
Practice squad maybe. So yeah, I'm not going to read too much into that, if I'm honest.
No, of course. Anything extra, Liam, before I move on to Zion?
No, I mean, I'd say I don't know much about him. I watched some stuff. I know in his last game, one of his last games, like he went off against Northwestern, who are usually a reliable defense. I think I read. I'm trying to find his stats again. It was in that game he got 9 receptions for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Nice
in a game, and Northwestern are usually a pretty good defense. That's a pretty good going in a game.
That's pretty good going, but also concerning for his stats, because that means his stat pad in one game pretty heavily.
Yeah, and he lost.
Brilliant stuff. Lovely. And then finally, another defensive tackle, Zion, a Georgia boy. So I'm sure some of our audience will know more than we do, or I do for certain. I'm not too sure if you two had any background on him from seeing him in passing or anything. 6'6", 314 pounds, career highs of 17 tackles. And yeah, it sounded like he was a pretty steady Eddie, did the job. But again, another physical monster. So maybe that's the safety in it.
Yeah, I can't see him getting out of camp, if I'm honest. But
no, probably not. Very possibly not.
I think I'll be honest here. I think they just did it just to please the Georgia crowd at that point.
Well, there was whispers that there is an unwritten rule in there, wasn't there? So I saw the tweet saying that it has to happen at some point. So
boring.
I don't know the technicalities. And that is our 2024 draft class. We have, of course, taken quite a few undrafted free agents. There's 8 at the moment in time. I'm not going to break them down. If they make it to camp, and we get to see some clips and some tape, we'll get to it then. But for the moment in time, we'll be here forever. Quick jump to the comments, because it's a good way to round up the draft before we move on to a little bit of any other business. Ben has asked, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact this season? I'd imagine Trice, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't really need too much explanation. I just think it's probably looks the most built for what we're looking for right now.
I was just going to, when we go to any other business, I was going to mention that comment.
Okay, we'll pop that one up next then. Trice for you as well, Mark, then, or and Liam?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably between him and Dawlis. I think the only thing with Dawlis is that how do you define production if he's playing on 5 different positions on the line? But I can see those guys making a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Liam, any difference in opinion?
No, I mean, I think probably Jesse McClellan's probably going to go off, to be honest, and dominate the league. But other than that, I think probably Trice.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's you've got to back your boy. We'll dip into a little bit of any other business. We'll go to the comments first because there is one that Mark wants to cover a little bit anyway, by the looks of it. And then if there's any random picks that we think are notable from across the league, but no stress if not. But first things first, from Cam. I'm trying to figure out what your display picture is because it's so little on my screen right now. But yeah, so looking at cornerbacks now, apparently we've put the feelers out for 2 or 3. So I'd be very shocked if we didn't end up with at least a couple in, whether they stay with us until the season comes or not. But I'd be very shocked if not.
I think an ideal situation would be to take someone like Witherspoon, and that was kind of my kind of main gripe. And I know it's a lot. It's great. So probably other people had. I think, but again, we talked about it earlier on. It kind of felt like as soon as that sort of cornerback train hit in that second round, there was like cornerback, and it was just like So I guess I absolutely agree with that comment. I think that should be top priority.
Yeah.
Like I say, Witherspoon's kind of my preference on that. With the free agents that's out there, and I think just touching on free agents as well. We've talked about those options at edge this year. For me, we should probably be back on the phone to Bud Dupree, seeing if he wants to come back, because
I think that's fair. Yeah,
I think we really, really, really need a bit of a veteran guy back in there. I would probably doubt at this point that Calais comes back, although I'd welcome him back with open arms.
Oh, absolutely,
But also, I think if you're going to play, if we were still playing a 4-front, I would say Calais would be an ideal mentor. I think in a 3-front, Bud Dupree suits that more outside linebacker role a little bit more. Yeah. So if you want somebody to come in and kind of help these lads develop, then I think Bud Dupree to me feels like the most obvious vet to go and get for that room.
Yeah.
And just what Cam's just put again there, Justin Simmons is still a free agent. Yeah. But I think we've got about 8 million in cap at the minute, around that, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, but 5.5's the draft class, so.
yeah, sure. But I think do you go and cut Heineke? Do you I think there's still some
wiggle room
moved around.
Yeah, 100%. Liam, cornerbacks. Anyone on the map that you fancy?
I mean, I think Witherspoon's probably the best option. I think in terms of I think Dory Jackson's probably the other one that I think I saw. He's still there. He's not. He's another vet who's pretty productive now and again. I think he would be a decent option. I can't really. I know the other one's Stephen Gilmore, but it's too past it. I don't think he fits the mold of what we were doing anyway in terms of his sort of.
You can't build a really, really fast front seven and have a slower corner.
No, I don't think it'd work. And in terms of edge, I don't say with the cap room and stuff like that. I don't know how much it cost or what he'd fit, but Emmanuel Ogba's a pretty decent option. He's had pretty good production over the last sort of 5 years. He'd be another one who could, I think, add value. But I said I don't know what kind of money he'd be looking for and whether he'd fit the scheme or anything like that. But he's somebody who's been pretty decent for Dolphins. Yeah, I presume we're going. Obviously, I don't know if we do anything in free agency, but I presume we're going with King at quarter 2. If we don't do anything,
I've not even thought about it, to be honest. Let's have a quick. Terrell, Hughes, Phillips, Alford, Hamilton, King, probably based on that, maybe.
I'll be honest with you. I'd rather see what they can do with Clark Phillips.
Yeah,
if I'm honest. King's injury history. I see where you're coming from. Don't get us wrong, and I'm not hugely against it. But if that were to come to pass, but it's part of that goes well. Supposedly our head coach and new DC are kind of their histories and coaching DBs. Right, well, you got a job on your hands, boys, because you're keeping D. Alford and Richie Grant and all of that. If that's what you're going with, you need to. There's boys on this roster. You're going to have to start coaching up.
Yeah, I think Clark Phillips should play in the slot. I just can't see a guy who's 5'9" or whatever he is, 5'8", playing on the outside. I just think he'd get absolutely smoked. I think he'd have a bloody good go. I know, from his attitude, he would have a go, and I think he could make some plays. But I think we just need that length. And I think Kevin King he's just so, like I say, he's injury prone, and he's so hit and miss. Like one game he could look like unplayable, and then the next he's kind of like not really, he's like invisible, not really there.
That's what Kuda was like last year, though. I
can see why they would pick up somebody like him. So I have seen him play really well, but I think he could, if we don't do anything else, I think he could end up corner 2, but I don't really trust him, to be honest.
I'd really like to see this year a bit of a jump from him, from Clark Phillips. I'd really like to see if Helms can make a bit more of a jump, and obviously he was the 7th rounder last year, so if we can make a starter out of him, because we've seen some flashes last year that actually
it's not bad player.
maybe it's not just the Richie Grant show, who again I know he's kind of probably last year of his contract rookie deal right now, but he's another one. We need to see a bit more from those guys.
Consistency, isn't it, with Richie Grant as well? God, he's inconsistent.
Yeah,
brutal. Yeah. So overall, obviously, we've got a long off season left to go yet. We've got a good few months before we see any football at all. Mm-hmm. Shall we have a quick dip around the league of any notable picks that anybody's clocked onto? We don't have to go in depth, but anyone in the NFC South, obviously the Panthers have stocked up pretty heavily, which with some pretty tidy picks, obviously ended up with, I don't know why I'm rambling. I just lost my train of thought entirely. I don't know what just happened.
Panthers picks.
Panthers picks. My head just fell off completely then. I forgot what planet I was on. But yeah, in the NFC South, as I said off camera earlier, I was devastated to see Kool-Aid go to the Saints. Not player-wise, just because I like his name and I was going to get it on a jersey. And then...
You wouldn't have got his first name on the jersey anyway, would you?
Well, trying to stop me. Personalised. Well, I wouldn't have gone fanatics, would I? So
I think certainly one thing of note is I think the Panthers they drafted relatively well.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the big things is they let Brian Burns go for peanuts.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really big miss for them. I think they're, at least 2 to 3 years away. Saints continue to be in cap hell again.
Yeah.
To Liam's point earlier, if this division, winning the division should be the minimum, and if we don't, then there's something seriously wrong.
Well, it should have been the minimum last year, and we had a quarterback that liked to throw to opposition more than our own players.
Yes.
So really, with a veteran that's been over 0.500 for his entire career, then surely that's the bare minimum.
I can't think there's any picks that sort of jumped out at me. Joe Alt going at 5 was kind of a bit of a surprise. I'm surprised Chargers didn't go receiver earlier, but hell, it was a great pick, and you know how much I liked him.
So I mocked him to the Chargers. So I couldn't believe they actually did it. I thought I thought with Slater they might not, but they did it. They stacked that all line.
Yeah. They did.
Fair play.
Well, to be fair, I mean Herbert needs some protection, so I think that was a really, really tidy pick. No major surprises as such. I don't think. I think we're the ones that have dominated them headlines.
I mean, we very wrongfully so though, because if you look at the mocks where everybody's got an estimated value, some of the other picks were picking players like 2 rounds away from the estimated value, but they didn't go to the Falcons, so it didn't really make a headline. But we move. We're not bitter.
I think one thing that I would say. Oh, did I? Has my internet?
Oh
yeah,
go on, Mark. You're all good.
It's the lag.
I think just to kind of sum up this draft and kind of sum up how I'm feeling right now, and to almost kind of put a real full stop on it. And like I say, I referenced my tweet earlier on from night 1 of the draft.
Yeah.
You guys have taken your risks now, and Raheem, when he was hired, said, I've got to win, because bad years of quarterback play and all this sort of stuff,
Yeah.
But now you've come in and you have gone against the Terry's draft strategy for the past 3 years, BPA and all that, all that.
Yeah.
So now it's fine. I'm happy for you to wander off the beaten path, and I need you to go and prove all of these people wrong, because I can't. I've received so many memes in the past.
Yeah, well,
it's actually not even funny at this point.
Well, anybody that's watching, just in case you don't already know, I'm probably responsible for like 90% of the social media posts. And I have been firefighting for over the weekend. I felt like I was literally against an army. It was relentless. I'm not disappointed with the draft. I know it's not what everybody wanted, but you back the team that's put in front of you. If they don't do it, they don't do it. It didn't work out, and it's a shame. But I genuinely do think that the format of picks that we've gone for is a lot more logical than BPA, because BPA, we kept doing it and we were doubling up on positions that we didn't necessarily need. And this time around, we've stacked up the D, and maybe we've missed out on cornerback a little bit and maybe a wide receiver, but we're all good. We've got this. It's fine. It's a bin fire division.
You've been hanging around with me too long, Danny.
I know, right?
Optimism is.
I used to be so negative. I don't know what's gone wrong.
Yeah. Now it's just all solely down to Liam.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Exactly.
I think in terms of my draft thing, I would say that the only things that would stand out, in terms of like who maybe had a really good draft, probably I would say the Eagles and Commanders I think stood out for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Eagles got potentially, in some people's eyes, the two best corners on the board. Like you could say that they got. I mean, they managed to get both in like Cooper Jordan and Mitchell. That was quite impressive.
Yeah.
And Commanders, if you look at Commanders sort of overall, they got Daniels, you know, and then they got Newton. Obviously, everybody was after. They got Sinistrel, who I thought was a really good player, and then they got Sinner, who's sort of like the second tight end on the board, really. So
yeah,
I think Mr. Quinn's done a decent job there.
Yeah,
but you got to remember that they sold the farm.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Yeah. It needed to be done for them, but I think they've done well with what they got back and with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing's for sure: the Broncos have had a mare.
Yeah. They're the only team I've seen ranked lower than us in terms of the outcome.
I've seen the Bills. I've seen the Bills ranked lower than us as well.
Yeah, but I've also seen Denver get like an A for their grade as well. PFF gave them an A.
I think all of the actual kind of main guys I've seen have all given us a C. So I don't, it's we got an A last year, and we still
it didn't really work out.
No.
Yeah, I got a little list here just in case.
Maybe C stands for champions.
Yeah, got Chad Rutter C plus, Mel Kipper C, Chris Trapasso C plus, Rob Maddy C minus. They're all just C in different variations, but that's fine. Put us at the bottom. It's all right. We've got no expectations then, have we? So
yeah, I mean, do we usually?
No, and I think that that's a. I think the grading there is possibly valid, but not more not a C in terms of the players that we've taken, more the tactics and when we've taken them. If you take that into account, I can see why people would question it and give us those grades.
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
If you just go player to player, I don't think we've picked. I think there's teams that have picked worse players, maybe overall, or at least players on par with what we picked, but maybe they picked them at the right times and we picked them a little bit ahead of time. That's what.
That would be more fair. However, you just know that that's not what all the media are doing it based off. They just do whatever they do to burn people down.
Did you just out of curiosity? Did you see Kyle Pitts' live reaction to the Penix pick?
No, weirdly enough, and I'm usually bang at it with stuff like that.
He was on one of these podcasts. There was, I think is it Micah Parsons or CJ Stroud? But anyway, one of these podcasts, right? And Kyle Pitts is on the video link, and they call it out, and Pitts is buzzing.
Love that.
Like he was like, and I've never seen him almost kind of that animated about something, but he was raving about him, and the people on the panel of this podcast were like, and he was like, no man, like,
no, he's like, no,
you can sling the ball, and listen, right, I think that screams to me that we've got players that just want the ball thrown to them.
Yeah.
So,
He doesn't care which quarterback's playing as long as it's coming to me. I know both of them can do it, so we'll take it. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win you rounds, Liam.
I'm not against Penix as if in the way like his production and his play.
No, I'm going to win you round about the situation.
You'll have to wait for 4 years until we see him, and then you can try.
It's a date.
We'll do that show from the new and improved Atlanta Falcons studio based in London by that point, 4 years down the line.
My main concern about Penix is, for some reason, I just find it really, really weird watching a lefty. Even though I'm left-handed, I just find it weird watching a left-handed quarterback.
Well, listen, I think the biggest concern about that for me is not that he throws the ball with his left hand, is that Caleb McGarry's now his blindside blocker.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, that was genuinely, without being brutal, that was people's biggest concerns online, saying you're going to need to take up the O-line.
Replacement quick, then Penix's ACLs are about to take another battering.
Well,
it's a scary situation, boy.
Brutal, absolutely brutal. Lovely stuff. Anything else for the night, boys? Or are we all? Oh, Lindstrom has got a task.
He's got to play two positions.
One man army. Anything else for the night, chaps? Or are we satisfied that we have covered the Atlanta Falcons draft? I mean,
no. I think I'm pretty happy. I just, let's just weather the storm. Let's weather the storm of all the memes and all the virgins. Yeah, can't believe the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, the dust won't settle soon enough because nothing's going to be going on for a few more months, is it? So they can do what they want for a little while until all camps are well underway and everything. Then we've got a little bit of breathing space.
I'm optimistic.
I genuinely am. I won't jinx anything, but I'm confident about the division, and then we'll take it from there. Yes,
sir.
So, ladies and gents, I'd just like to thank you all again. Last week we beat our viewing live records, and this week we've beat it again. So I don't know what's happening this season. I don't know if it's everyone going doolally over the draft, or maybe we're just better this year than we were last season. Who knows? But thank you all very much for watching. We are just going to keep doing what we're doing. It's a lot of fun at the moment. There's a lot going on. We've got some guests in the pipe work with some dates that we need to book in. Former players, media, you know how we've done it before. So we're going to try and figure all of those out whilst there's nothing going on over the next couple of months. Go on, Mark.
I'm just going to put this out there. We need, and I just want to remind everybody, because I've just checked, the majority of our viewers are over on Twitter right now, and we can't see your comments, so we're not ignoring you. The platform that we are, using, because Elon Musk's an absolute moron.
Yeah.
We used to get them. We don't get them anymore. We should probably start moderating that mid-show. So we'll certainly do that going forward. But thank you to all you guys over on Twitter. I'm not calling it X because I've had sex with a woman before. So we will make sure that we're moderating that in the coming shows and make sure that we're getting you guys involved. So apologies if you are watching and think that we're ignoring you because we're not.
But for the time being, you can head over to YouTube and we can see your comments. Or if you don't want to sit in such a formal setting, Facebook as well. Not sure how many of you have Facebook, but we move.
Yeah, I was going to say it's starting to become like an old person thing, isn't it now?
It is a little bit. It is. That's why Mark's on it and I'm not. So I don't.
I'm only just learning how to use Instagram. God's honest truth. I've
still got dial-up internet as well, according to your service tonight. But no, thank you everyone for watching again. It's been a really fun show. Broken our viewing records again, and we're just going to take it week by week now. Obviously, there's not always going to be news, but we'll make sure we give you a couple of days' notice each time. If we can do one every week, we will. But we don't want to bore you just for the talking for the sake of talking, because I get rambly, I get nervous, and then these have to look after me, and it's not good for anyone. But thank you all for watching. This will be on. Nope, Mark, I nearly said your bit. Go on.
If you are on the move, you prefer your podcasts, kind of, at the times of your own leisure. Obviously, this video will already be available on YouTube when we end it. So feel free to do that if you want to look at our ugly mugs. But if you don't, we do export this into all of the podcast streaming services, so Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
We just, I don't know how that started, but it's just never going to end now. That's where we're stuck. That's where we're stuck.
I listen to so many podcasts, and every single one does it, and I'm just like,
one thing my missus told me I need to do as well for YouTube, for the thumbnail. Apparently, a lot of people during their shows say, pose for the thumbnail, and you all like actually smile or something, so I don't have to sift through a video.
Sounds awful.
And I know, doesn't it? But, so at the minute, I have to sift through a video and try and look at one where we're all actually looking at the camera and or smiling at the same time. So it's like a really boring show. I'm not going to make us do that this week, but maybe next week.
I'm going to stop pulling stupid faces at the
end. Make it impossible for me.
You need to get us through a little jazzy intro. Yeah. get me when that jazzy guitar intro's on.
Mate, I was vibing when that was on.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I almost didn't want the show to start.
Our outro. So on that note, if you haven't already,
I'm ready to vibe.
Follow us on socials, and we will boogie away to our outro.
Play us out, Danny. Play us out.
Catch you next week. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.